Well, good morning, everybody, and thank you, Randy, for that introduction. Glad to be here. Appreciate Vicki and the Chamber putting on this great event for the past couple years. It's exciting to be here. To what Dr. Stovall said today, what I want to share, two particular items, and that's conservation and urban forestry, and how those two topics can actually work together, where we're ensuring environmental stewardship and economic growth. Those two can work together. We'll talk about that today. So what our theme is, building economic resiliency through conservation, and how that reflects a simple truth that we'll discuss. Protecting our natural systems, our green space, is one of the most cost-effective ways to sustain our community growth and prosperity. So I'm Todd Vande. I'm the planning director. Been here since 1996. Been blessed to work here, and always want to acknowledge the great team that we have here. I see all of our planners here. Rodney's here, Tommy Lee's here, and Will, our new planners, here, and been very blessed to have a great team. Probably have our best team since I've been with the city, and they help us be proactive and get planning done in Zephyrhills. So just want to acknowledge them and tell them how much I appreciate them. So this morning, what we're going to be talking about here, as you see on the slide, are two important initiatives that the planning department is working on to help shape our city of Zephyrhills' future. So there's two things that help us with how we do things here. One of them is the comprehensive plan, and the other is the land development code. And it's important to know that the update to our comprehensive plan helps shape our community, our growth, and our development. So that first item there under the comp plan, as you see, is the conservation easement, conservation element. That's one of our elements of our comprehensive plan. And what that does, it sets the long-range vision of how we're going to protect our natural resources and help us to know how we grow and how we develop. So important. And the other side of the slide there, you see, after we get the vision created, create the comprehensive plan with the vision, goals, objectives, and policies, and it comes down to the implementation, and we do that through our land development plan. And so we take the vision of the conservation element and implement through the land development code, through policies, programs that actually get the vision created and established and moving. So our conservation easement establishes as I mentioned, the city's long-term vision. And what it does, it helps us to create a vision for balanced growth and stewardship. So we're looking at growth and development, how that all happens, but then we're also called to be good stewards of the land. And we've talked already today about the importance of being good stewards and protecting some of that land. It's all about protecting all the resources. We have air and water. We need to protect our wetlands, our floodplains, and ensuring that we have a reliable water source for today and tomorrow. So important. These really aren't abstract goals. These are also true economic goals, and we'll talk about that today, how conservation can play into the economy and economic goals that we have as a city. These goals also help us avoid costly infrastructure damage. Got to make sure we do our infrastructure properly and correct, and that will help us maintain the property values of our homes, our properties, and ensure that Zephyrhills remains a desirable place to live and to invest in. This will also help us achieve a quality of life if we have these natural green spaces available to us. So that balance of growth and development and environmental sustainability, it's important, and it truly is a smart growth initiative that we have to be interested and concerned with. We just completed our update to our comprehensive plan, the conservation easement, so it's fresh with us. And need to make sure, like in all growth and development, we're doing it smart. Let's see. So here we have the green fields in Zephyrhills. We get this map from SwiftMud. It's Land Use Cover 2025. And we look at the green fields that was on that original map. And we talk about the importance of those green fields and why are they important, you see on this slide. Of course, the conservation lands, they protect habitat for wildlife and our ecosystems. So important for us to protect those floodplains. Aquifer recharge protection goes along side by side with the importance of protecting our water supply. And the protection of green fields also provides for parks and open space, trails, and ecotourism. We'll have a map later in the presentation that shows all the environmental land. We have a lot of environmental land around Zephyrhills, and I think there's a missing opportunity for ecotourism where we can open some of those lands up with trails and bring people in for tourism. So that's what we're referring to there with ecotourism, with the Florida Green Swamp that we have and the Hillsborough River Basin. We have the Hillsborough River State Park to the southwest on 301. So lots of opportunities. The other thing that these greenfields will do is, a lot of residential development. And again, it's about good land use decisions and making sure we have the proper buffering that are in place to help us with compatibility, with lower density residential subdivisions, trying to maintain some sense of buffering, natural landscape, natural habitat that can provide some compatibility safeguards for new residential that's coming in. And here's that, the slide that I was referring to, the SwiftMud slide. And as you can see, probably didn't know how much greenfields are around Zephyrhills, right? So yeah, Zephyrhills is located within a remarkable regional conservation network. And as you can see on the map there, we're connected to the Green Swamp. We just talked about this, and you see the location of the upper Hillsborough River wildlife management areas and the Hillsborough River State Park that we mentioned. That's on the south side of the city on 301. So yeah, it's a large area of natural buffers. And by maintaining these ecosystems, these linkages between these areas, we support both wildlife and provide opportunities for people to enjoy these areas. And it's important that these natural areas will not be developed. So that's a big asset. And doing a little research on what you see there, the Florida Wildlife Corridor, it's state law to protect these environmental corridors and lands. And they do that through land protection, through planning, and there's a lot of funding that goes to preserve these, purchase them and preserve them. So again, protecting these habitats, as you can see on this slide, is about connecting green spaces. We have a lot of green spaces around Zephyrhills, so it's important that we connect these green spaces for both wildlife and people. We can make these connections through trails, as you see, and even waterways can be used for making these connections. And you see there's a lot of planning tools that we talk about in our conservation element for the city. Partnerships for land acquisition. It's good to see we have the county here. They got a great ELAMP program. I'm sure they'll talk about that, Environmental Lands Acquisition Program. We need to work together. Maybe there's some environmental lands around Zephyrhills that make a sensible, good connection opportunity to connect to some of the lands that they're working with and prioritizing. There's even ways to do development. An example that would be a conservation subdivision where you work with a developer, a builder, you look at the land use and the zoning number of units that are allowed, and you maybe allow a smaller lot where you could have all development in the center of the property and then have a larger buffer around the perimeter of the subject property, where especially if you have some nice natural habitat that you can preserve. That's a proactive planning tool from a development side that I know we've looked at a little bit. The county's looked at that as well. The other thing that we're doing as part of our conservation easement element is looking at open space. We'd like all new residential developments to have a required amount of open space. So our staff has been looking at other communities and how they have a minimum standard of the open space. And in that open space, you could look at it differently in every property and prioritize what open space you want to protect. Maybe there's some good old hammocks there that you want to preserve, and structure the development boundaries around trying to preserve those areas. So again, yeah, smart growth that places an emphasis on environment and ecological linkages. It does really provide a quality for life if we can make that happen for people wanting to move to Zephyrhills and all this green space that we have around us. Watershed protection and flood resilience. This is important, and it relates to conservation also, because watershed protection and flood resilience is important. Why? We've had a lot of storms recently, so yeah, this does become a big issue, and every time it rains, the water has to go somewhere, right? So how do we do things? Knowing that, learning from what we've experienced. How do we plan? How do we build? How do we do the landscape? Today we're talking a lot about that. So yeah, how we do things determines whether the water can continue to be a resource, or the other alternative is it becomes a risk. And we've learned a lot through these storms. So we're taking corrective measures now from those experiences that we've had. So what our goal is, I like that phraseology in the center of the slide, is to slow the flow. To try to find more opportunities and measures for the rain to soak into the ground rather than to rush off onto hard surfaces. And what that does, it overwhelms our stormwater systems. So yeah, we want to slow the flow. And if we are able to expand that sponge, make it bigger, then we give the land or our city a greater opportunity to absorb that stormwater naturally. And it saves a lot of money by doing it that way naturally. So we need to make sure we're looking at all those opportunities, and we are looking at that right now. So that means, yeah, protecting the wetlands. How we do that? We protect our wetlands. We try to restore floodplains. We plant trees, and using green infrastructure, like some of the examples I have here on the slide, bioswales, rain gardens, and permeable pavements. On the top corner of that slide, you see preserving that natural habitat. A lot of benefits we've talked about in doing that. That second slide down on the right, shoreline preservation. We'll talk about Zephyr Creek in a little bit more about that. And then the next few slides show some examples of how you can do bioswales along roadways that captures the water from the runoff from the roads and naturally treats the water for water quality. And then you have on the bottom far left, we've had some meetings with SwiftMud in correctly doing these Florida-friendly yards. We can make a difference even in our yards. Everyone could make differences to help with the water situation, drainage, and how we do our landscape on our yards with Florida-friendly designs. Okay. This is what I was talking about, the Zephyr Creek Basin. I think most of you all in here are probably familiar with what the Zephyr Creek Basin is. Where we're looking at, this is a very high priority for the city to make some improvements on this corridor where we had some flooding instances after the results of the hurricanes. Probably saw how Zephyr Lake flooded after the storms. So this slide shows the basin in the city. You can see it connects the Zephyr Park, but it actually goes a lot further than that. It actually goes all the way down to the Hillsborough River on the south, and then it goes further north that you can see on the slide, past Island Boulevard, past Silver Oaks and Silverado out there. So it's a very large basin. And what our goal is to restore and improve the Zephyr Creek Basin, and we want to increase the stormwater opportunities in this area. And we think there's a really high opportunity for making this creek an actual amenity. You've probably seen it, probably hard to believe, we'll show some examples of how that could look and could really become an amenity. Water can be an amenity, as we all know, right? I think it really could be a game changer for us, and using that water as an asset. And we are actually working with Pasco County right now on some grant opportunities. So it's a joint co-locate project between the city and the county to work on improving this Zephyr Creek Basin. Okay, here's an example of a project that I was kind of the impetus of what got me thinking about the Zephyr Creek Basin was this project that's up in Tallahassee, and it's called Cascades Park. That's just off Appalachian Parkway, I think. Yeah, thank you. It's a little east of the downtown where the Capitol is on the south side of Appalachian Parkway. If you ever get up there, go take a look at this project or Google it online. And it was engineered and designed to solve flooding in downtown Tallahassee. And it has basins, it has wetlands. The name cascading came from some cascading channels that capture water and treat it and treat the runoff and improving the water quality through this basin. And so what they've been able to do is blend these stormwater systems into a recreational amenity and public gathering spaces. And this really shows how even a stormwater project can become such an economic asset for a community, and the development and redevelopment that can occur around up there. As you see, they have an amphitheater there. They got restaurants, playground equipment, trails, but the main function is a stormwater system. And there's a lot of partnering that went into that from the various state and federal governmental agencies. Okay, so yeah, we've talked already. Water is a finite source. I think we're all aware of that, and especially in Zephyrhills, it's very important because we're in a protected basin. I won't talk too much about that. We got Amber coming up. She can talk more about it, but we have been working with SwiftMud, got our water use permit increased, and now we're going to be looking for new water. But, we do know that by reducing consumption today, it leaves more water for tomorrow. And we are comprehensively looking at that. We got to work on finding new water sources and options. We know they're going to be costly, so we got to be creative. And working with our partners on that, we need to work with the Water Management District. We need to work with our county partners. And maybe it's a regional water supply with all of East Pasco County. Mr. Oakley was here, and I know there was discussion about a regional water supply that was talked about, I don't know, maybe a decade ago. So there's options, but we're starting to look into that right now, and we're going to be doing a comprehensive plan visioning workshop and a water supply workshop. We're going to be talking about that in the next council meeting, try to set up some dates to get that up and running. So it's very important for us, but you'll hear more about this in the next presentation. And then we are also working with SwiftMud. We work with them to create an ordinance. It's a Water Star ordinance. So now every project that comes to the city, that landscape and irrigation plan gets reviewed by the Water Management District office, and they make comments on it to make it more water friendly. So that's something that we've started recently. All right, from plan to action. So we talked about the comprehensive plan, that provides the vision, provides the long-term goals and policies, and it's really the city's roadway map where protecting resources while protecting the guiding the growth. But it only works, it can't just stop there. Then we got to have a plan of action. And that's the implementation. And that's what we do through our land development code that you see on this slide. Today, one of our clearest examples of that, of putting plan in action, is the city's tree protection ordinance. And we'll talk a little bit about that in just a minute. But I think if you look at this slide, think of the root system as the comprehensive plan, the vision, the foundation of the framework and the vision of our city. So that sets the framework, the roots, and that's what you're seeing at the bottom of that tree there. But once that's settled, once it's established and the foundation is set, then we can grow the area, grow the community. And that's when the tree can grow and prosper, and that's through the implementation of doing good programs and policies. So yeah, conservation easement also is aligned with a lot of other city plans and programs that we have. We're just initiating a tree planting program. We're going to plant more trees in the city. A lot of our trees are declining, dying, being removed. We need to replace that tree canopy in our community. A lot of good reasons for that, and I'll show you why on a slide. We got the Sustainable Zephyrhills Community Action Plan done about a decade ago that emphasizes climate resilience, green infrastructure, and energy efficiency. We're completing a Parks and Recreation Master Plan that supports conservation and protecting native vegetation. And we have a downtown CRA redevelopment plan and CRA neighborhood plans that also support these measures. So yeah, tree protection ordinance. We're in the process of working with that right now, working with consultants, working with an arborist and a landscape architect. We want to strengthen our tree ordinance policies, practices, and strengthen, again, that canopy preservation. Our council wants us to do that. We've been directed to do that. So we have new standards that will require a tree survey to be submitted along with a conditions assessment, an analysis of the assessment of that tree, so we can really make good decisions on which trees are coming out, which ones have to come out. Maybe some don't. So we want to make sure that, yeah, development contributes to rather than diminishes our community's green infrastructure, trees. Okay, this slide highlights why tree protection is also important for economic development. You see there, trees are a natural infrastructure. What do? They lower cooling costs. They increase property values. They attract shoppers and reduce crashes. Interesting, you can see on the slide there, if you place 3 trees on your property in the right locations, you can cut your cooling costs by 50%. It's pretty impactful, isn't it? And apartments can be surrounded by greenway. They'd have less crime. Shoppers spend up to 12% more in a shaded business district. It's comfortable for them to come. They can walk on the sidewalks. We're comfortable for them. So urban forestry is all about public safety, public health, and economic vitality, all rolled into one. It truly is connected. So our takeaway today is simple, I think. Resilience starts with stewardship. I hope that's been clear today. Our environmental and economic resilience are one of the same. Everything we do, every project, every partnership, every policy that we create can strengthen both our environment and our economy together. So yeah, it's important that we protect these natural systems. And in turn, if we do that, it's going to lower our costs, protects our property, and supports smart growth. And as we move forward, our commitment is clear to protect these watersheds, work with the other agencies to do that, maintain our tree canopy, invest in efficient, resilient green infrastructure. If we do that, we can work together as a community to protect what sustains us, and that's clean air, water, and land. So thank you. I look forward to your questions, any ideas of how we can continue aligning our economic growth with conservation here in Zephyrhills. Thank you.